last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, last time on Oz Hour, fucking little Ojo gets cuffed. He's going to jail. And while he's going to jail, he gets put in a white cloak to look like something not good. Also, maybe a ghost. We don't know. And here he goes, humiliated, angry, pissed. And he gets put in jail, and it's the nicest jail he's ever seen in his life. There's cushions, there's unlocked doors and windows, there's Tallybwag, whatever her name is. I can't. Anyway, her, we know her. She is there, and she plays games with Ojo and tells him, yeah, this is like what jail's like. I know, it's like crazy. And oh my God, what else happens? Oh yeah, Dorothy's here, and she's in her cute little gown. She's hanging out in her room, and they all who gets to see her? It's oh my God, I'm jumping all over the place. What's her name? Scraps, Bungle, fucking the other guy, Woozy. They all get to meet her, and someone says how they're the queerest people of all. And they're saying that to Dorothy, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, she's entertained. She likes it. She's having fun. Then Scraps all of a sudden wants to hide the evidence of this 6-leaf clover. I'm all over the place. I'm just going to move on to court. We're at court, and Ojo is there, and everyone's there. And they decide that Ojo's going to be okay because he explained himself. He said he was guilty. He did all that, and they said he's fine. And so they decide to let him go and continue his journey. And they're going to get rid of that the magician's magic after he releases Unk Nunky and oh fuck, what's her name? Margot Lot. That's it. I'm done.
Amen.
Hi there, and welcome to episode 40 of Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today, we will be continuing with Book 7, The Patchwork Girl of Oz, covering chapters 19 through 20.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone
And Wyatt Swain.
And joining us, as always, is our resident Oz initiate, Hannah Aguirre.
Hello.
That was great tone. You had really good
Wow.
Oh my God,
tonality there.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
feel like you haven't been happy with my intros lately.
Well, like sometimes I do experience physical cringe, and it's something that I never notice in the moment, but I do notice when I listen back for quality control. So you just played last time on, where you recapped what happened last time in the Patchwork Girl of Oz. That sorry, that took 2 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah.
That's incredibly long.
We
can't
sorry.
be having
I'm
that.
so sorry.
We don't edit the last time on section. You
Yeah,
can't
so that
take
just
all
has
the
to
time
be
you
it.
I really wish we did.
All I got that you missed, Wyatt, you might have more. All I got is her name is Tally Gambooble, and she's all for prison reform.
Okay.
Tally Gambooble?
I don't remember what her name is.
I was like, I know I was wrong, and I know that's not right.
Tolly Diggle, I'm pretty sure.
Tolly Diggle.
Yeah,
She's
but
cool.
we'll never be back. My big note is
God.
that you actually skipped chapter 17 because that's where everybody has. Yeah,
Ozma and her friends.
yeah,
Oh, that's
they have dinner with
right.
Ozma. It's funny because earlier today you actually asked me what the chapter was called, and I told you Ozma and her friends.
You know why she didn't remember? It's because they
Well,
don't.
nothing
They
happened.
refuse to talk about anything bad, and everything bad that they would talk about is all the interesting things that are happening in the story.
It is character development though for Ozma, but
For
kind of
sure.
it's not even character development. It is fucking
It's a redemption. Like L. Frank
Yeah.
Baum was like, I wrote a tyrant. I need to change the
Yeah.
optics.
yeah.
Here's her and her friends that love her.
There's two Ozmas, the wicked one and the one with her friends.
Friends.
So before we started recording, Wyatt whipped up some cocktails. What do we have here?
Tonight we are drinking Totten Toddies, which is a play on a hot toddy, except it is cold. So we're trying something experimental, and the name for which will make sense, and the recipe for which you can find on our Instagram at Oz Hour Podcast.
Yeah, the name was too perfect, but spring has sprung in Portland, Oregon, and we're
Yeah.
not drinking
I
hot
wouldn't be able to
toddies.
do that. Thank you.
The windows are open, and that is a big podcast no-no.
Yo, yeah.
Okay, let's slurp.
All right. He always spits.
She said she'd never seen it before, and then it happened. That's crazy.
Chapter 19. Trouble with the Tottenhots. So yeah, we're opening up with a drink reference.
So after a day's journey, is it Wyatt, Ojo, Dorothy, Toto, Scraps, and Scarecrow?
So yeah, and that's something that's interesting because it's not really clear who's with them at
Yeah,
first.
they just say our
Even
travelers, and I'm like, wait, who?
in the last chapter, they did explain like who was and wasn't approved to go.
Yeah.
But a refresh would be nice. And this is also strange because usually we get told how they wake up, have breakfast, do this and that, and then they leave. But this just opens right up with they're at Jack Pumpkinhead's house, and they've traveled for a day to get here.
So the gang is on their way to Jack Pumpkinhead's farmhouse. So some of the pumpkins on Jack's farm at this point have grown so big that they're nearly the same size as his house, which he tells Dorothy is convenient because he's thinking of making an addition to his mansion. So that's good.
Yeah, and also we do get a reminder that he lives in a giant hollow pumpkin.
That was my next
Yeah.
question. What mansion?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
he
yeah,
refers. They refer to it as his mansion, but it is
It's
just
a
that
big
big hollowed pumpkin.
Oh,
it's like
remember-
a Peter Pumpkin Eater's
So they
wife's
just call it
coffin.
that.
kind of-
Yeah. They're kind,
But remember, he also designed the Scarecrow's mansion, which is shaped like an ear of corn, and we were like, "Oh, of course."
but made
he
of
did.
gold.
That's true. Not made of pumpkin.
Yeah, but interestingly though, there has been a slight remodel to the Pumpkinhead's house because before there was just a bed in there. And Jack just sat on it quietly, and he was whittling something, or he was flicking
That's
a toothpick
right.
or
Oh, he
something?
flicked seeds at like a
Seeds.
can.
So he's gotten some furniture now. There's like nothing crazy,
Okay,
but
interior
like
designer.
yeah, nice furniture, like comfortable little rugs, like so it's kind of cute. It's a little different. And we're also assured that he wants to live there, and if he wanted a big mansion like the Tin Woodman, that Ozma would make it for him because she loves him. So just things we already know about him.
No.
So Jack greets them all. He offers them a place to stay for the night, which they were planning on doing anyway.
Yep, they'd planned on that.
We're not going anywhere else.
Yeah, we're staying here. If you were strangers, we'd be staying here.
Yeah.
But Scraps was super interested in Jack, and she's like, oh, she tells him that he's quite handsome, but he's not as beautiful as who? The Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Scarecrow. I almost said Jack Pumpkin.
You're handsome, but you're not as cute as yourself.
Yeah. But the Scarecrow who is there looks at Jack Pumpkinhead and he winks his painted eye somehow, which it wrinkles over, I guess, and he
Ew.
winks. But yeah.
Yeah, Jack's like, hey, there's no accounting for taste, you know? He's stuffed with straw. I'm made of a hardy fucking hickory or something.
Yeah, and Scraps is like, well, I love stuffing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like stuffing,
She's
I do
like,
it all the time.
I'm made of stuffs. Yeah, but then basically, like, there's this
So
whole
they've claimed
weird-
they're exclusive.
Yes,
basically, they're courting.
Yeah.
They're actively
Um,
courting each other.
But it is...
And Jack's not interested.
No.
And then
So-
someone after the second day of meeting them said like, "Hey, don't talk to him." I'd be like,
whoa.
okay, so that's that.
Let's not forget, though, that, like, Scraps is less than a week old.
Yeah.
And the Scarecrow
Is 3 years
acts
old.
that way.
He's 3 years old.
Yeah, he's 3 years
so,
old.
Yeah.
but he's wise. But Jack explains his only stuffing is the pumpkin seeds, and right now they're a little dried out, and he's feeling kind of stupid. He explains to us how he changes his head, which is interesting, like for the Scarecrow or for the Patchwork Girl, and I think different because he says that he carves them himself. But I thought
Yeah.
Ozma did it for him.
Ozma did do it for him
Okay.
in previous books.
I mean, they could have
Also,
changed.
does
that,
he
but
still have his cemetery?
It's not
Oh,
referenced,
it's not
but it
mentioned,
must
but it
be
must
out
be there, yeah.
But the
yeah,
way
it must
that
be
it,
huge
it's
now.
yeah,
yeah, it must be
sounds-
growing some big old pumpkins,
Yeah.
maybe.
It's weird. Yeah, right. It's weird too though, because he's like, oh, like this head's getting a little old, so like my seeds are dried out, and I'm like, make yourself a new head every day. You don't have to eat or sleep.
It's like washing
Spend
your
1 hour a
face.
night. Yeah, exactly. And he has so many pumpkins. I
He's
don't know.
making pies.
I'm a little
and
mad
shit,
about it.
man. He's got a whole company. He's got
Yeah.
a canning business.
Yeah. In addition to the furniture, he has also apparently added a full-scale kitchen because Dorothy and Ojo and Toto all need to eat. And so for the night, he ends up cooking them pumpkin pies.
Okay, there's so much. I mean, just compared to the other boots, boots.
Boots the house down.
Compared to the other books, I feel like they eat a huge meal all the time.
They're hungry.
Yeah.
Dorothy only eats nuts and berries.
Exactly. Used to be nuts, berries,
When
maybe
has
butter,
she eaten
maybe
lamb
milk.
and gravy?
It is
Yeah.
amazing that they live in a place where nobody can die of hunger, and yet they eat more food than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I think literally Dorothy got a bowl of milk somewhere in the first book that she had to eat, and she was so happy.
She ate a doormat, man.
Yeah.
She-
Oh yeah, she did. She ate a doormat.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Poor Dorothy,
Yeah.
dude. She's such an activist.
Yeah.
And actually, though, speaking of Dorothy, she, just so we know, like, she's here, Ojo's here. Dorothy is wearing a gingham dress and a little sunbonnet because she's like, I know how to travel, and I know how to travel in Oz. So she's all set up. She has a little knapsack with her treats in it. And then Scarecrow has that. And then Ojo obviously is there, and he has everything he already had.
I'm getting like a much more grown-up vibe from Dorothy in this book. Like I feel like in previous books, and you're gonna come to see it, I think, in the chapters today. But like in previous books, Dorothy is very like, "Oh, gee willikers, I sure hope nothing happens to me out here in the woods." But now she's very like, "No, you will not." Like,
I was wondering where the contrast was going to come in. You did a good job.
That was a good contrast, actually.
That was kind of
Just
like-
it just felt like I was like watching a cartoon for a
Yeah,
second.
that was very like Shirley Temple to like fucking Princess Di, and that's what it is. Because I do think we're getting like a more mature, or maybe just more maturely written version of Dorothy, and she's kind of also taking the lead a little bit. Because I will say in this chapter,
Experience.
Ojo fades a little bit for me, just because like I don't get as much Ojo.
Yeah, I
'cause
forgot about him.
I think now that it's like you have one stuffed person and one kid the whole book, but now you get the stuffed person and the kid that you know really well. Like the personalities take over, but it's not bad. It's just something to think about.
that
as
is
we wade
interesting
in.
because
That
I
is.
didn't think about that, but I completely agree with you. And it's totally just because like she's Dorothy in
Yeah,
Oz.
she's
What the hell
iconic.
else?
Yeah. And it makes sense. She has the power, but
we love a lead woman.
we love a lead woman, and she's taking the lead, and they're fucking eating pumpkin pie and a vegetable soup
And a
dinner.
vegetable soup. And after dinner, the meat people and Toto go to sleep on beds of dried grass. And Jack, the Scarecrow, and Scraps spend the night outside talking.
And I love it when the unliving adults go outside while everyone else is sleeping and have a conversation.
We
They did it
have-
before the gnomes
Natural.
invaded.
We
Yeah.
have come a long way from watching spiders weave their webs.
I know. Yeah,
seriously.
seriously.
That seems like it's just natural.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and they're just
You have so many more hours to live and
they
do
should
your
be
thing.
fucking doing their Duolingo all night. They
The
should be
fact
speaking
you don't
every
have
language.
to sleep. Oh my god, if I could do that, I
If
oh my
You'd have
God.
2 jobs.
if
My
none of
yeah,
us
literally.
if none of us had to sleep, we could all be in the same room without speaking to each other, doing amazing things.
Yeah,
But we'd still be together, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
To me.
That is what it is. For it.
and they do all of that together, presumably. But right now they're talking, these 3, because they're all 3 out there, and Scarecrow's just kind of catching Jack Pumpkinhead up and being like, "Hey, like here's what we're doing, and like, do you know where we could get a gill of water from a dark well by chance?" And Jack has been characterized as an idiot in every book, so I don't know why he's asking him. So maybe we're doing a little rewrite.
Yeah, but suddenly when his seeds are fresh, he's a genius.
I
and
know he
I-
didn't start a genius, but
Whatever. I mean, frankly, I like it better. If L. Frank Baum wants to change it, it works
yeah,
for me.
I like our reality, but it does not agree with the history.
Yeah. But Jack's like, dude, I don't know what that means, but maybe you could like close up an existing well and make it dark.
Yeah, good
and
idea.
then go get some water from it. Scarecrow says no can do because we already know the rules of this magic.
Yeah, like they just want to make sure the magic works because they're like, hey, get a water from a well that's never been seen before, never seen the light of day.
Yeah, 'cause
so they can't just make one dark.
If you remember, when they take the water out of the dark well, it can never see the light. It has to
Yeah.
stay enclosed in the darkness until the crooked magician gets it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's a bigger problem, kind of, which is that Jack is like, well, how much is a gill of water anyway? Which I'm glad this is being brought up.
I'm glad this is being brought up, but I don't understand anything that's about to happen.
Oh, yeah, I have a pretty good glaze of that in my
Okay.
notes. But it's kind of interesting. So he asks, and the Scarecrow, I think it's because the Patchwork Girl is there. He doesn't want to seem like he doesn't know. Like he wants to have his like brain moment, and he's like, "Oh, a gill is a gill," you know.
It's a guild. duh.
Yeah.
A gill is a
And-
gill.
And then here's where it gets weird.
Okay.
But I think I know why. Because what does Scraps say?
Scrap says, Oh, I know. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch, and the Scarecrow's like, no, it's not that.
So here's where I think that we've been saying Gil, and is it pronounced Jill, or was there a slightly different pronunciation of Jill and or the word Gil in 1910, where that's her thing? Is he said a Jill is a Jill of water, and she said Jack and Jill.
Okay, that's crazy. That didn't even cross my mind. I thought we were both confused because why does Scraps know that nursery rhyme from London or whatever?
Oh,
But that's crazy.
That
but
was
then
also
they
my note.
like
That the
okay,
the
that it is pronounced
pronunciation,
Jill,
yeah.
but they spell it Gill. But okay, so here's the thing. The Scarecrow interrupts Scraps there in the nursery rhyme, and he's like, "No, there are two types of Jills.
Yeah, I'll
One
say
is
Gil.
a girl, and the other is." And Jack's like, "A gillyflower." So
Yeah, we're just going all over the place.
I
Oh
thought that
my.
like when they said like, "Oh, she was a fine little gilly," I thought it was "g."
Oh, like a Jilly?
Is it Jilly?
Well, in the Dark Tower series, a Jilly girl is like a side piece that like a person would have who's kind of like a prostitute.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I think
call him a
that-
Jilly.
Oh.
with a G.
I didn't read it. I listened. So I don't know.
I read it with my eyes. Dang it!
Well, anyway.
It's pronounced Jilly. They're looking for a Jill of water.
A
Okay.
Jill.
So now we're going to have to rewrite some of this history.
Don't
here.
DM us.
Yeah. Or maybe they already did. But at any rate, the
Scarecrow's like, it's a measure.
yeah.
That's all we know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll ask Dorothy. He's like, we're just gonna ask Dorothy in
We're
the
gonna
morning.
figure it out.
And then it's the morning. Presumably they stayed up all night. And we were told that the stars were burning bright. So they had a really
they
good
like
time.
had like a smoke sesh and broke everything down.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So next morning, they asked Dorothy what a Jill of water is, and she doesn't fucking know. But it's fine because Ojo is like, well, the crooked magician gave me this little gold bottle. It holds a quart, and that's what he gave me. Or it holds a pint. So he's like, we'll fill that up, and that's going to be fine. So it doesn't even matter how much we need.
Yeah, the crooked magician can measure it himself out of a pint.
Yeah.
Dorothy's like, the bigger issue right now is how do we find the well?
Yeah.
And Jack's standing in the doorway of his house. He's looking out across the landscape. He's got
He's
a
not being an
cigarette in
idiot.
his mouth.
He's being smart.
And he's like, seems to me the prairies here is too flat. You're gonna want to head to the mountains, find yourself a cave or a cavern somewheres.
Which is good advice. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that.
No,
But-
I wouldn't either.
But Ojo asks, well, where the hell do we find mountains? Ojo has never been anywhere before, obviously, so he has no idea. The Scarecrow has the idea that they need to go to the Quadling country. And he's like, I knew we were going to have to go there for this. Like, I just knew it. And Dorothy's like, me too. Like, of course we have to go there because of the mountains. And if you recall, there is the big mountain that they'd had to climb in the first book in the Quadling country
The
to get to
Hammerheads
Glinda.
were there.
Yeah, the Hammerheads were there. And Dorothy's like, yeah, there's Jack is like, isn't it dangerous there? And Scarecrow's like, well, there's fighting trees. He doesn't mention it, but there's a giant monster in the forest,
He's
which
like,
was killed.
I've faced
but could
many
have more.
evils in the Quadling country, and I've always lived to tell the story.
Yeah.
And
so
yeah, Dorothy's like,
good.
yeah, like there's gonna be dangers there, but do we need a Jill of water or don't we?
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah.
it's
they're going.
doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, let's go.
Yeah.
So they
we're
bid farewell.
fucking royals. Kill us, I dare you.
That's a strong dare to be doing right now.
Yeah, actually, especially with some of the things we're gonna see.
Yeah.
But they say goodbye to Jack. They hit the road. And, we get a little background that the Quadling country in the South, it belongs to Ozma. Everyone in the South should be allegiant to Ozma. But the thing is, there's so many wilds. There are people in the mountains. There are people in the jungles. There are creatures that live there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these people, a lot of these living things don't even know that Ozma exists. They don't
Yeah.
know she's their queen.
Yeah, it's very Utentia, basically.
Yes.
It's like there's lots of little tribes out here, or groups of living things that would not know who Ozma is.
Yeah. And
So it's a little,
It's
uncivilized.
scary, and they don't roam out of the Quadling country. But should you go in,
You
good
know.
luck.
Yeah.
It's like going to a cannibal island. It's like, why'd you
Yeah.
go there?
Yeah. Okay. But it takes them 2 days to get there. So they're walking the first day. Like they're not taking their time, but like it's just two little kids and a dog. They need to rest sometimes. So like they sleep one night. I don't know why they didn't have the sawhorse come and pull them around. Like, Dorothy's a princess.
Yeah, he
and
got the day off.
everything. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the fucking weeks off. But they're getting a little closer to the Quadling country. Like, at this point, they're like, they can see it, like, on the horizon.
Yeah.
And they're also kind of like in a little desert. Like, it's kind of sandy. It's not the Deadly Desert, but it's just sandy and dry.
Getting to the point where it's so sandy that, like, you know how like walking in sand is, and they're to
Exhausting.
the point where they're like, this fucking sucks. We need to stop. But they see up ahead that there's like a group of palm trees, and it looks like just like a bunch of black dots around them. Like, it's that far away.
Yeah, it's weird.
But
like,
They're like,
they can't tell.
scary.
They're like, we're in a desert. We can't sleep here in the sand. We have to get to those trees.
Just keep going.
So they do, and they walk all day, and finally, you know, at one point they're getting even closer, and Dorothy's like, okay, like the dots are getting bigger. They look like they're big kettles turned upside down,
like a cauldron or something. It's just like
Yeah.
a black dome, basically.
Oh.
Like, but from what she can see, like, she can't tell.
They're not
obviously, too
worried
far
about
away.
it though. Their goal
Yeah.
is still
Because nothing's
palm
moving
trees.
around.
Keep going.
Yeah,
But honestly, at first, I thought it was going to be like people or like creatures that they saw, but then as they got closer, it's not moving. So it's fine. So they get there, they finally arrive, and it's just, it's these big black domes. They're about the height of Dorothy. So, you know, pretty big, probably like 4 feet tall. And she's like, what the fuck is this? Like, and she's kind of getting closer to look. And something crazy happens.
just as Dorothy is like getting close to the thing, a lid pops open on it, and out jumps a little man who just like lands on the ground next to her. He's small.
He's small.
And then
yeah.
from
Every
all
one of
of the
these
domes,
things. Oh my God.
there are hundreds of them pouring
Yes,
out.
and they're all landing. They had this
An
like
army.
yeah, they have like scarlet red hair that stands up straight. They're like small, and they have all they're wearing is animal skin like around their waists.
I feel like they were like just in like loincloths.
Yeah, exactly. They have like some bracelets and some like earrings and stuff, but they are like strange people. They're strange. They're kind of remind me of those not the gallywogs, but the ones that were really muscular, but they're tiny. That doesn't matter.
They are very like that though, even though for some reason I can't remember. But Toto hates it. He
Yeah.
is cowering near Dorothy.
Forgot Toto's there.
Scraps says something along the lines of hoppity poppity jumpity dump, but nobody is listening to that.
Yeah, no one pays attention
I
to
would,
that.
I would tune that out too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Dorothy, no fear in the world, is like, "Who are you?" Like she
She's been here before.
she
Hang
doesn't
on.
she doesn't so
Yeah.
much as say ah. She says, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And they do tell us in song, and it's all in unison. So all the 100 or whatever of them there are, like at the same time, tell us who they are.
Gonna do this together.
Yeah, very well.
We're the jolly Tottenhots. We do not like the day, but in the night 'tis our delight to gamble, skip, and play. We hate the sun, and from it run. The moon is cool and clear. So on this spot, each Tottenhot waits for it to appear. We're everyone chock full of fun and full of mischief too. But if you're gay and with us play, we'll do no harm to you. So they all said that together.
Yeah. And basically,
Whoa.
all they're saying is,
Come
we're-
play with us,
Yeah,
Danny.
we're the Tottenhots. Like, we
You
hate
can
the
say
day.
that in
We like the
way
night.
less words.
Yeah. And do they say it to everyone they meet? Because that's kind of obnoxious.
I think so.
They probably meet very few.
It's true. Yeah.
That's
The
true.
Scarecrow's like, "Hey, nice to meet you, Tottenhots, but we can't play with you all night. Like we've been
been
traveling
going all
all
day.
day, and some of our friends need to sleep."
Yeah. The Hottentots, or the Tottenhots, all laugh at this.
They
And
go,
yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's like an eruption.
exactly.
No.
It's echoing around the mountains
No.
because they're also, for the record, they are on the edge of the mountains, basically, like right beyond the.
they're at, like, the base of
Tottenhots.
it.
Yeah, there's big boulders and rocks and crags, and it's leading up to the mountains. So this laughter is just echoing around, and one of the Tottenhots grabs the Scarecrow's arm to like pull him around.
Oh my God.
He realizes how light he is. He picks him up, and they start throwing him back and forth. quote, like a basketball.
Like
No,
a
they're dribbling
basketball.
him?
They're playing
they are
monkey
maybe.
in the middle.
They're
Yeah.
playing horse.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're playing sawhorse.
They're like squeakers. Their squeakers are sneaking.
Oh my God. But then someone grabs Scraps
Yeah,
and they
they're-
start throwing her too.
They're like, she's a
No.
little heavier, but we can still do it.
yeah, they're like, it's
No.
a sofa cushion.
The
We're throwing her
scarecrow's
around.
gonna go crazy.
Well, so this all happens really quick. And Dorothy goes into like a rage mode. She's like astonished, pissed. She's like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
She runs into the group of the Tottenhots and she starts slapping them
She's
and pushing them down.
Of course she
They're
is.
crying. The ones she's slapping start crying and run away. Like she is just
Yeah.
going off.
Go
and
off.
she gets to the scarecrow
When you're
and Scraps.
being dangerous with your body,
You're gonna
If
get
you-
slapped.
If you can't be safe with your body, you're gonna get slapped.
if you're, and that's my parenting, parenting 101. If you can't be safe with your body, you're gonna get slapped.
You're
Yeah.
gonna get slapped.
And they were being extremely unsafe. So Dorothy does get to the scarecrow and Scraps. She like grabs them like under each arm basically, and she's
While this is
like, "Yeah."
happening,
So all of this.
while this is happening, they try to throw Ojo into the air, but he's
No.
like, "What the fuck?" And like he's obviously too big for them. So
Okay.
instead, they start crawling all over him and force him to the ground and stand on him
So that he can't go help.
So that he can't go start slapping them with Dorothy.
Yeah. So some of the ones that were slapped
Oh my
were already
God.
crying. Dorothy is like slapping still. She's pushing, and then all of a
Oh my
sudden,
God.
they all give up this shout.
Like, yeah, just like a short, quick, like,
Yeah.
all together.
But then they
Ew.
all
and
go
then it's
retreat.
like, and then it's like,
Yeah, they flood. It's very ants in that Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, when all the ants are on the ground. It's
Oh, yeah.
that, but Tottenhots, and they're going back home. And they
yeah,
all crawl
they
into
get
their
in
little domes.
domes, and then all the lids are like, dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, yeah. It's insane.
So scary.
And then everyone's quiet for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty scared.
Process
Then Dorothy's
that.
like, "Is anybody hurt?" And Scraps and the Scarecrow are both like, "Didn't like it, little rough, but I'm actually like, I needed
In
a good
perfect
shaking."
shape.
Yeah, they're like, I was messed up for
I'm
walking
actually
all
dust
day.
free now.
Yeah.
So this is good. Yeah, exactly. They just beat Scraps the
And
hell out.
Ojo's like, "They sat on me, but like, I'm okay."
Yeah, he's like, there were
So,
6
like,
of them
it was
on me.
kinda
But
scary.
yeah, that's
Like, I was scared, but I'm
horrific.
fine.
But I don't see any bruises.
Finally, one of the Tottenhots like opens up the little like cookie jar lid, and he's like, "Can't y'all take a joke?"
And they're he's like, don't you have any fun in you? And the Scarecrow's like, if I had fun in me, you would have just knocked it out of me because you were fucking insane.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
not a joke.
Yeah.
But he tells them he doesn't hold grudges, and he forgives them. And Scraps is like, "I forgive you too, but you guys need to be good."
Like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, they're like, you're being bad. And they're like,
It's literally me talking to children that like try to punch me in
And
the
that's
face.
what I picture the Tottenhots as, just like a bunch
Yeah.
of toddlers, and they're like, "Woo, Daddy Daycare!" You know?
well,
Should we
They-
watch Daddy Daycare tonight?
okay. The Tottenhot, though, he's like, hey, like, this is our time to go out and play. Like, we've been sleeping in these little, like, things all day. So, like, we need to know we can get out there and you're not going to slap the hell out of us.
Dorothy's like, "You started it," and the
Yeah.
Tottenhot's like, "And you finished it. Let's
Yeah.
not argue."
You ended it. Yeah.
Can
so
we
we're fine.
come out and play, or are you going to keep slapping us?
Yeah. And Dorothy strikes a bargain.
Good bargain.
Yeah. She's like, hey, you guys can come out and do whatever the fuck you want, but like, can we just go sleep in your little thing? Like, and then you leave us alone for the night? And he was like, yeah, everyone wins with that. We'll do that. So he whistles, and then all the Tottenhots fucking fly out of their little domes. They land on the ground and they start screaming and laughing and being crazy again.
So
But good for them.
these things are the domes are much bigger than I thought they were.
I'm imagining like Volkswagen bug sized.
Okay,
It's
see,
always Volkswagen. Volkswagen.
It's just always a good frame of reference.
that's how big Chiss is. That's how big these houses are.
Yeah.
But Ojo and Dorothy like look down into one. It's way too dark for them to see. Tottenhots love the dark.
Yeah.
So Ojo's like, I mean, I'll go in first. I thought this was going to be the dark well, honestly.
Oh.
Because it was like
It would
pitch
make
black in
sense.
there, and Ojo like starts lowering himself into it. He has no idea how far it's gonna go. I thought he was gonna go splish.
Splish,
It's not that
splash,
deep,
I
though.
was taking a
Actually,
bath.
I don't understand it, and I. Rubber dub, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was all right. So, don't do that again. You've seen what
I'm
happens.
sorry. I'm sorry.
But Ojo lowers himself into the dome, and he finds it's like pretty shallow, and everything is cushioned all around. It's
like
cushioned.
plush down there.
And he's like,
It's
"Oh
nice.
yeah, Dorothy, get in here." So she hands Toto down to him. He takes Toto. Dorothy climbs in, and I think that's gonna be it. But then Scarecrow's climbing in, and Scraps is climbing in. I was like, okay, so this place is big.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's giving like I don't know, like it's giving den.
Luxury
It's
hotel.
as tall as
Yeah.
Dorothy, but it's as wide as a bug.
Yeah, but they all get in. They leave the door open on the top so they can still get the fresh air. And the Tottenhots are being like loud out there because that's what they do at night. But like those kids are asleep. They've been walking all day. They go right to bed. But Scarecrow and Scraps stay up all night in whispered conversation, sitting on the other side of the room, and they're just talking about their life
Best of
stories.
friends.
It's pretty sweet.
Toto is not having like the best night's sleep because the Tottenhots are so loud, and he like keeps like opening his eyes and like growling. I say he's probably just having a dog dream.
Yeah, probably that. And then it's the morning, and the Hottentots are coming back, and they're saying, "Hey, get the hell out of here! You say you're welcome."
You need to get out.
Yeah.
We're going to sleep now.
And that's the end of chapter 19. Trouble with the Tottenhots. And Blake, what would you Hottentot call that?
An impish encounter.
Chapter 20. The captive Yoop.
Yoop. Alley yoop.
Alley-o.
So as they're leaving, Dorothy asks the Tottenhot if he knows where to find a dark well.
Good question. I would be asking everyone that.
Yeah.
He does not
They're asking him a lot of questions for someone who let them use his house so he could go out and play, and he has to get out of the sun.
Yeah. And also, like, he never is outside during the day, so what would he possibly know about the daytime world?
And that's basically what he says. He's like, I'm only out at dark, and I don't even use a well. So
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what dark well is.
I
But
never
then,
went to Uvajavar.
Yes. And the second layer of that is Dorothy's like, okay, well, do you know anyone who lives in the mountains? Like, are there people out there? Like, what can you tell us? That he has very interestingly specific information in that he says that there's lots of people, but they never visit them, and they are like supposed to stay away, and they shouldn't go there. And Dorothy's like, well, what are the people like? And he's like, I don't know.
I
But,
don't
like,
know because we stay away
like,
and we're
we're
not
not supposed to
bothered
be
down
there.
here.
Which I guess, like, you know, like if you're living a good life, don't ask questions. But I'm like, but who are you talking about? Like, and who told you that?
Little curiosity. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out because they take off to the mountains.
Yeah, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, deuces. But like we said, it's like rocks, it's crags. The path end. Well, they weren't even really on a path. I don't
No,
think.
yeah, they're just like in like the sand, but then
Yeah.
they come to the mountain and they do like a free solo for the first
Yeah,
bit.
it's just like big rocks and crags. It's really hard to move through. They're crawling over things. It's uncomfortable and it's just like annoying. Basically, it's pretty bad. And they do that for a while. Like they get up pretty high, just like
they're exhausted.
climbing the crag. Yeah,
They're crazy.
They are
crazy. What if they fall? Finally, they come to this point. Well, they won't die. Finally, they come to this point where like the rock kind of splits and it's a canyon. Basically.
Yeah, they walk up. Yeah, it's a big canyon. It's just like the canyon they walked through when they saw the hammering giant in the land of Ev. How
Yes,
they couldn't
just
go
like that.
anywhere except for straight. Like they could have tried to climb over this though, but they were like, "Hey, there's a big crevice here. Like let's walk through that. Like it's gonna lead us somewhere. Like that's fine."
Ojo says, "What about that sign?" The camera pans from the end of his finger to etched onto the wall where it says, "Look out for Yoop."
Yeah,
YOOP.
look out for Yoop.
Yoop.
Yeah,
Dorothy looks at the sign for a minute, then she looks at the Scarecrow and she's like, "Who's Yoop?" Or what? What's
I'd
Yoop?
be like,
what's
a
Yoop?
Yoop?
Yeah.
She said who? She said what? She said where?
yeah. She said
Oh,
it
wait.
all.
That would be my next
And she also
question.
said why.
And the Scarecrow shakes his
And-
head, and then looks to Toto, and Toto says, "Woof." So
And Toto
Not
does say
Bow
wow.
Wow.
Toto
Not
does
Bow
know
Wow.
who Yoop is, but he can't tell us. I
Yeah,
guess.
he's trying. He's like, woof.
Yeah.
Woof, woof,
It's
woof.
so frustrating for him.
I bet.
Well, Scraps is like, there's only one way to find out what Yoop is. So they do that one way, and they
Yeah.
press on.
they go in the canyon.
As they go, the walls are getting higher and higher, and closer together.
Yeah.
Then they come to another sign. Beware the captive Yoop.
And Dorothy's like, okay, captive. Okay,
Yeah.
like why would we even need
Okay,
to worry
we see
about
you,
that?
captive.
Yeah.
Like,
there
we
might
see
be
you.
some control happening
Yeah.
here that
She's-
we don't have to
yes,
be worried.
Exactly. She's like,
Yeah.
thank God he's confined. And I'm like,
Yeah.
didn't
Girl.
we just like celebrate the Woozy being unleashed? Because like the
I
sign
thought-
said beware the Woozy, but everyone's glad
Oh.
he got set free. This man
I thought the
or
same
thing.
thing.
Very
But when you
valid.
just see a sign, you're a little scared. Sometimes you crawl
Yeah.
into their cage, and sometimes you are scared to approach it.
True.
But yeah, they agree. Better than running loose. So Scraps is like, well, still, I mean, if you really think about it, Yoopty hoopty loopty goop. Who put noodles in the soup? We may beware, but we don't care. And dare go where we scare the Yoop.
Who said that?
That was Scraps.
Of course it was. Why did I even ask?
Dorothy is like, dear me. Sorry.
Dear me.
But no, Dorothy does say, dear me, isn't someone feeling queer?
Yeah. Ojo
Wow.
is straight up just like, no, she's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
her
actually-
brains are these bead things,
Yeah.
and they jostle
So
around.
I did something.
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. He's like, I've
So she's
I've
fucked.
after traveling with her for a week, I've determined that when that happens,
Broken.
something's
Yeah,
broken.
she's
broken.
So they continue on.
They continue walking. The canyon starts to get so narrow that if they reach their arms out on either side, they can drag their fingers along the wall.
Yeah, it's also like twisting and turning, so like they don't know what's ahead of them. Like the Yoop could be ahead of them at any
Giving
point.
Maze Runner.
It's giving Maze Runner, and it's about to get even more Maze Runner because Toto is running ahead,
Oh.
and he's just playing. He's having a good time, and then all of a sudden he he yelps, he screams, and he runs back to them. And the Scarecrow's like in front of everybody, and he's like, "Oh, I guess the Yoop must be around the corner."
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay,
sees
so they know.
Toto run by, and he's like, "Here comes the Yoop." I
Yeah,
guess.
they know.
And he does turn the corner, and then he stops.
The Yoop?
He's
No,
the
the
Scarecrow
Scarecrow.
turns
Oh,
the corner
okay.
and stops so suddenly that everyone like crashes into
Like
him.
a cartoon.
And Dorothy's like, "What?" And she looks over his shoulder, and the woman was too stunned to speak.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she just goes, "Ah." So
It's like when the house falls in the movie, and she's like, "Oh."
exactly. So on like the left wall of the cavern, like ahead of them, there is this big, or the left side of the canyon. There's this big entrance, like a big cavern entrance, but like huge. But it has iron bars like crossing it off, just like a jail cell. So it's giving jail cell in the side of basically the side of a canyon. And it's strange. And there's a huge sign above the jail cell.
I mean, it would
conveniently.
have to be a huge
to be able to
sign
read, yeah.
for all these
It's-
words.
Yeah, yeah, because this says Mr. Yoop, his cave, which I think is a joke about the address. Anyway, it's Mr. Yoop's cave. The largest untamed giant in captivity. Height, 21 feet.
And yet he has but 2 feet.
Weight, 1,640 pounds.
But he waits all the time,
Age, 400 years and up.
as they say in the department store advertisements.
What?
Temper, fierce and ferocious.
Except when asleep.
Appetite, ravenous.
Prefers meat people and orange marmalade.
Meat people.
Also, I love that he's saying meat people. I thought we made that up.
Yeah, I thought that was us.
I mean, he said it one time, we caught on, and then he started saying
And
it
he
6
just
years
goes
later.
saying it, yeah.
But it says, strangers approaching this cave do so at their own peril. P.S. Don't feed the giant yourself. So,
As in, don't feed the giant yourself.
yeah, do not feed yourself to the giant because he will eat
Okay,
you.
I won't do that. Thank you.
Yeah. And Ojo immediately is like, okay, let's go back then. Like, that's fine. We can go back. We
Yeah.
can just go.
Ojo's
yeah,
like,
it's not a big deal.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, we're not staying here.
Dorothy says, Ojo, it's a long way back. And the Scarecrow's like, and we're going to have to climb back down those rocks? We can't climb down those
Yeah.
rocks.
And the only way up the mountain is to climb up the rocks. They'd have to go back to the beginning of the canyon and then climb up the rocks on the side of it.
Yeah, they have
So
to
it's like
climb
they
up
have
and
to
then
keep
back
going
down.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bad idea. Well, it's a good idea to go back because this is crazy. But they're
Yeah.
like, let's think about it for a second. And the Scarecrow's like, like Mr. Yoop is probably sleeping in the cavern. We can just run by really quick. It's not even
Yoop
gonna be a
is
big deal.
not asleep.
He is not sleeping.
At that moment, the Yoop appears at the bars, grabs them, and shakes them. And he's like,
Yeah.
Mommy! Mommy! No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
No, he does. He does shake
Oh, like he's
them
shaking
though.
them out like a rug.
No, he is shaking those bars. And again, he's 21 feet tall. So he is over 3 times your
God.
height. And this bars are just like, dun, 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 like rattling in their stone sockets. And he's like, oh, I smell dinner.
No.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Scarecrow's like, there's no orange marmalade here. Because that's one of the foods he eats in addition
Okay,
to meet
so
people.
for some reason that's the only one he remembers.
Yeah, well, the Yoop is like, I actually eat other things.
Like
and
meat people, and I smell them.
Yeah, he's like, and no good meat has passed here for years. So just like the Woozy, he is imprisoned without eating for years at a time.
Real quick, if I may, I'd like to point out that he wears a pink velvet onesie, pink leather shoes, and a pink cap with a pink ostrich feather sticking
Yeah.
out of
So
it.
he's a baby.
So
That's
he's a
crazy.
big baby.
And silver buttons. Yeah.
He's a giant baby.
So yeah, he's like, no one's passed by for years, and Dorothy, for some reason, wants to engage in conversation, and she's like, you mean you haven't eaten for years?
And he's like, no, I ate in the last many years, I've eaten 6 ants and 1 monkey. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he had hoped the monkey would taste like a person, but he was
Also,
like,
why
tastes
is
different.
a 21-foot person thing?
How can he even see ants?
Yeah.
Yeah,
see
he
that
was
ant?
like,
Well, on
What?
the other
yeah,
hand,
you stick them on your finger and then you suck
like
your finger.
most
or
of that was
something?
dirt.
on the other hand, the mosquitoes in Oz are the size of birds. So,
Yo, I don't want to see an ant, honestly.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
give me an ant.
sorry.
But the Yoop is like, yeah, all I've eaten is the monkey and the ants. But he's like, you look plump and tender, and I hope that you're going to taste better than that monkey did.
Yeah, and
Dor-
Dorothy says, "Oh, I'm not going to be eaten."
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
No, I am not going to be eaten.
Yoop's
actually.
like,
Right.
why? And she's like, I'm not going to get close enough to you for you to eat me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, it's just not, it's out of the question.
The Yoop thinks
won't
this is
happen.
heartless, though. The Yoop says that it's heartless, like he hasn't eaten in so many years. It's been so long since he's eaten a plump young girl. And
Ew,
He says-
he's giving Hungry Tiger vibes.
it is. And he says, but I'll catch you if I can. And
He
his
says,
arm,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Yeah. No, he does not. He does not say that. So all of a sudden, he reaches his arms out of the cage, out of his little jail cell. His arms are the size of tree trunks. He can reach all the way across the canyon, or the crevice or whatever. So like he can like touch the wall. His arm goes out, and then he bends it, and it goes right to the friends, and it tries to grab the Scarecrow.
Incredibly close to the Scarecrow. They all scream and jump back.
Yeah.
And the Scarecrow's like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?"
Because the Yoop is literally begging. He's like, come closer.
Yeah.
Please come closer.
Let me eat you. And the Scarecrow's like, "I'm a Scarecrow."
How are they
He's
gonna
like,
get past him?
well, you'll see. But the Yoop hates that he's a Scarecrow. He's like,
He's
God
like, I don't
damn
eat
it.
that.
Yeah. And he's like, well, what about you? What about the lady back there? What's she made of? And she's like, I'm made of cotton. I'm stuffed with cotton. And the Yoop is like, okay, I thought I was getting 4 people to eat, and now you're actually telling me there's 2 and the dog. So that's actually not what I wanted today, but I will eat you all. Okay, that's fine.
Oh.
I really feel like it would have been cool if Ojo, Toto, and Dorothy were like, oh, we're stuffed with beads
Yeah.
and
They
we're
literally could have
stuffed
done
with
that.
hay. Like,
Although he smelled them, I guess.
I guess he knows.
But
Yeah,
still,
it's a
smell
very
them.
fee-fi-fo-fum kind of energy. going
Yes.
on.
They
it's
could have maybe
very
tricked him.
fun.
Yeah.
They could have tried at least.
Oh, the Yoop can smell Christian blood.
Oh. That'll do it.
Dorothy's a Christian.
No, Ojo.
Devout. Oh yeah, Ojo. Christ got to the Munchkin land.
Yeah. He is risen.
Yeah, you're right. So the Scarecrow is like, okay, everybody, like, let's back away from this cage and like talk things out.
Yeah,
So
we're
they
going to step away.
Yeah, they go back around the corner, out of sight of the Yoop, out of earshot of the Yoop.
The Scarecrow's brains are just working. And he's like, okay, got an idea. We're just going to go a mad dash past the cave. We're just going to sprint by him. He'll never even know.
Dorothy is
That's
like,
what I do in video games if I don't know how to beat someone.
dude, Dorothy is literally like, he will grab us. What are
But
you saying?
He seems kind
Scarecrow-
of slow.
Scarecrow thought
Maybe.
of this because he's like, hey, if we're all running, We'll surprise him. I'll go first. He'll grab me. And then you guys will keep going. He's not going to eat me, so he'll just let me go. And I'm like, why would the
Probably
scarecrow?
not true.
Like,
I mean,
why-
he did seem like he was going to eat everyone.
But and also, why would he let him go? Like, if I caught the scarecrow,
Yeah, I'd destroy him.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, everybody, I'm going to tear them
I'm
apart unless you
pissed.
come back. At least I would try and get them. I would try and trick them. I get tricksy with them.
Yeah,
But
strategy.
they'd hate it.
So I thought they were going to come up with a better plan.
But no.
But they decided to go for it.
Yeah, they're like, okay, let's run.
We're
Let's
gonna run. We're gonna run.
So Dorothy gets Toto in her arms, and they line up Scarecrow, Dorothy with Toto, Ojo, and then Scraps in the end, which I think makes sense. And then
It turns out more or less the way the Scarecrow planned.
they run. And it works out. Yeah. The Yoop is startled by their sprinting because, again, they're like around the corner. So they just come blazing.
Yeah.
But he fucking knows that they were just here. If I were the Yoop, even if they could have been gone, yeah. But he grabs. He reaches out and he gets the Scarecrow. He grabs the Scarecrow,
Oh my God.
pulls him against the bar, rams his head against it or something. But the kids make it by. And all this happens so fast.
Yeah.
But he grabs the Scarecrow.
Ojo
Kids
and
make it.
Dorothy are clear. They're good.
But he sees them and he throws the Scarecrow at them, knocks them the fuck over.
They
Toto
faceplant.
gets thrown down the path even farther.
Oh my God.
While he's throwing the Scarecrow, he grabs Scraps and she's just screaming and he tears her dress apart. He doesn't really tear the dress, but he grabs her. And then at this point, the friends are starting to stand up and he throws Scraps and then they all get knocked down again. He should have torn her to fucking pieces, but he didn't. So
Yeah.
that's it, though. They're all just lying in a
Yeah.
pile down the path.
The Yoop is like screaming and shaking the bars so
Oh,
furiously
yeah, it's so
that like
scary.
while they're all like Scraps is like on them and they think he got out and they're
Yeah.
like, get up,
They're
get,
like,
everybody
he's
get up.
coming for us.
But he's still behind his bars and they're
Oh,
safe
thank
on the other
God.
side.
Yeah.
And
The
They're
scare-
finding another way home.
they
I
are
was
going to
just
move forward.
thinking, yeah, they cannot go back that way ever.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
but
give
what if it was a dead end right after
Give
that?
Ozma the
he's
symbol.
scheming and planning how to he's like, if anyone crosses me again,
Yeah.
oh,
That's a
this
learning
is what
opportunity.
I'm gonna do different.
Yep. That's what he
It's
said.
never happening again.
Yeah.
Dorothy's
No.
going to have him.
He's gonna continue
Yeah.
to eat ants.
Euthanize.
and
They're gonna put him
beetles.
on the list of crooked magician, you need to get fixed. Yoop, you need to get taken care of.
Yeah, in 3 books, the Yoop is going to be carving Jack Pumpkinhead's faces.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they're gonna revisionist
But
history.
honestly, like they're so stunned, it like takes them a minute to like compose themselves and be like, okay, like we'll get back on the road, I
yeah,
guess.
they're like, okay,
The Scarecrow helps Scraps get up off the ground, dusts her skirt off, and he's like, I'm sorry, the Yoop is certainly not a gentleman.
and they all laugh.
They all think it's so cute.
But they all then just start walking, and Dorothy's like, man, like, good thing he was in a cage, because otherwise,
And
Dead.
Ojo's like, he wouldn't be
Death
hungry
to all of
anymore.
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
he would have
death to
destroyed us.
everyone. And that is the end of chapter 20, entitled "The Captive Yoop." And Blake, what would Yoop call that?
Yoop, there it is.
Yoop,
There it is. Yoop, there it is. Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time as we continue with Chapter 21, Hip Hopper, the Champion. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz. Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swingham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.